Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at some line commands and some other basic geometry commands. The first thing we're going to do is go to one that we'll be using most of, which is line, and we're going to pick from the ribbon here. And first of all, I'm going to pick some or draw some random lines here. I'm just going to show you by switching the ortho mode off here. So we're going to be drawing quite sort of slopey lines. So click line and then just basically draw random lines all about the place like that. Okay, you're not giving these any kind of value at all really. And then once you want to close that off, hit enter. And there we have the geometry that we want to play around with. To do a line with a specific value, I'm going to turn my ortho mode back on here. So that's highlighted. And I'm going to click line, and it's going to be straight across. So you can see that there's a kind of trying to show the dimension there. It's trying to figure out what the distance of that line is going to be. So if I put in, say, 1000, while I drag it across, and then enter again to close it down, you'll see that line there is 1 meter. Okay, so again for vertical lines, same idea. You're just dragging it down. Okay, you're not going to pick anything until you actually give it a value by typing right in here, and then enter, and then enter again. Okay, so that's the first way we would draw lines. If I want to draw a line from the end of this point, obviously I would need to use my snap settings, my object snap settings, which I mentioned in the previous video. I click on the end of that line. Now I could click onto the end of that line, which is fine. If that bothers you, then you can take the ortho mode off, just to do it again. So line, snap onto the end of that, and snap onto the end of that, and then enter. Okay, so that's the precision that you're looking for from these object snap settings. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is just to draw a box, and this kind of leads us into the polyline one next to it. So first of all, we'll use the line command, and we want to draw a box using our ortho mode on. And let's make that 1000, and then 1000 down the way. So you're going to give it a good strong direction. Pull it right down underneath that last point, and then give it another 1000 there, and then another 1000 across the way, back the way, and then you can actually snap on to the starting point, which is the final 1000, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's the box, a meter by a meter. Okay, now the thing about this box is that each of these lines are separate. They're not actually joined together as a full entity. They might look that way, but they're not actually joined. So I could take that line and I could delete it, and the other 3 lines would still be there. Now, the way to make that one complete entity, or to turn it into a polyline, is to type J for join, or just type join, then enter, and then select the entire box. And then once you've selected the box, like I said, after every selection, hit enter. And now if you hover over that, it becomes, or you can click on it, becomes one box, one entity. Okay, so if I just selected that and deleted that, it would delete the whole box. So that's a series of lines that have been converted into one full polyline. Okay, now again, I'm just going to use the polyline just to demonstrate that again. So you want to try and shortcut that process by going straight onto polyline, click there, drag it across, type in 1000, down 1000, across 1000, and then snap back up to the starting point, and then enter to finish. Okay, so obviously that box is the same as that box. You can shatter these up into their constituent parts by going on to this little explode button, but I'll explain that later. Now, the good thing about the polyline command is that we can offset that box and make a box within it. So a box within a box. Okay, and the way to do that would be to use the offset command. So I'll just give you a kind of a preview of that, just to show you the power of offset. And I'm going to make this box slightly within it by, say, 50 millimeters, or 50 units in this case. And then click inside the box. So it's click, click, click on the line, click within the line. Or if you wanted to go outside, click on the line and click outside. Click on the line, click outside. So it's a clicking exercise there. Okay, I'm just going to do that again. We'll go over to this one because we know it's a polyline now. If you go to offset, I'm going to type in 50, which is already 50, but we'll do it again. And then click on the line and then click within the box. Okay, so click, 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 click. Click on the line, click within the box, click on the line, click within the box. Now the good thing about that is you can make, you could make a cavity wall construction. So let's say, for example, we had a very simple floor plan. Okay, so you make sure this is ortho on. Click to start the wall. And we're going to make this, say, 15,000, which is 15 meters. A good strong direction down the way. So you're pulling it down now, and let's make that 10,000, so it's 10 meters. 15,000 across the way. And then snap to your starting point again. And then it wants to draw another line, but you're not going to do that. You're just going to enter to close that. Okay, so we know that's a polyline. We want to offset that within itself. So let's say the wall is 250 millimeters thick. So we go for our offset button and we specify the offset distance to be 250 and click within that, and there you have a wall within, or one side of the wall and then the other side of the wall. Okay, so it gives you your wall thickness very quickly. Now you could do that with making a cavity wall, making an airspace in between here, but we'll not do that. I'm just really showing you the power of using polylines. Now, polylines are useful for other reasons, because what you can do is you can make thick lines. You could specify a start point, and let's say we wanted to make an arrow. Now what we would do is we would go down to width, we would make our starting point a 0. Let's accept that with an enter, and now it wants an end point. Now let's make that end point, say, 300, and you'll see there, if you zoom in on that, the thickness of the polyline from here to here is 300, and of course that there thickness is 0. Okay, so there's lots of things you can do with polyline. Okay, the next command we're going to do is look at circle. I'm just going to draw a very basic circle here, and we're going to make the circle a radius, because it says down here what's the radius of the circle, and you're going to make that radius say something like 300. Okay, so that could be something that maybe is the start of a light fitting that you might want to show graphically. It could be a pipe diameter or something like that. Okay, if you click on that circle, you'll see the midpoint. So what I could do actually is I could draw a line from here, just turn my ortho mode back on again, and I could bring that line straight into that circle because it's picking up the midpoint here, and then I could just snap it on. Now that obviously depends on you having your snap settings down here turned on, as I mentioned before. So that's circle. We're not going to do too much else on the circle, but I want to show you how perhaps, just delete these here, I want to show you just using this here floor plan how we might use an arc command to do something like a doorway. Now if I just draw very randomly, just draw maybe a line down here, and I want to make the door with something like 850 or 800, I could, I'm just going to offset this, and again we'll be moving on to offset later, but just to give you an idea of how this works. I'll set it to there, I'll just take these walls away with a trim command. I'll be doing this later, so don't worry about that. Let's say we wanted to draw an arc. Now, we want maybe this arc to represent a door swing. So the way to do that might be to go into arc, go into these little downward arrows, and in this case we could say center, start, end. So the center of the arc might be here. The start of the arc might be here. And then it's just a case of pressing Control, okay, and then you would press 90. Okay, so that's going the other way, but that gives you an idea of how that would work. Let's say it's an outward opening door. Okay, so there's one way to do it. Another way to do it might be to actually just delete that. Another way might be to go and actually draw the door in. So let's just say we want that door to be going up the way by, or sorry, down the way by 800. Let's just say that's our door, right? And we want to show the swing on that. So we would go to arc, and we would go to something like center, start, end. Okay, so that's a very useful way to show door swings. Okay, so that's the line commands and some of the circular commands. Of course, you can draw a rectangle. Obviously, a very quick way of putting lines together. If you wanted to give that particular dimensions, put in here the length of the rectangle could be, say, 2000, and then the width could be 1000. Okay, now you're still not finished here, because you'll see that it's looking for a kind of an end point. Okay, it doesn't actually know where to position that rectangle. So just say you want to just land it there, you would click again, and that would land it on the spot that you wanted to. So play around with these commands, and we'll be repeating these further into the course. Okay, so we're just going to stop it there, and the next thing we'll do is we'll work on some modify commands.